database administrator. Software engineering also can be database administrator because we have learned a database. And then you can also, I guess you can also become a project manager, but software engineering also can be become project manager lah. But usually some people, some apa tu IT technician, they don't know how to do software, but they are more on network. Okay, so they are more on hardware. But it will be depends on the company itself lah. Okay, so don't afraid if you want to become big programmer also can, because you also learn programming. But what I want to say is software engineering is really focusing on software, developing a software. Okay? Understand? No? Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. So what you learn now is the process of software engineering, which is the SDLC lah. Okay. So now we proceed to the challenge. Challenge of a software engineer, or challenge in developing a software, or challenge in software engineering world. Thus, this course is software engineering. Okay, so now the first challenge is legacy challenge. Who know what is legacy? Who know what is? Pardon?
Oh,
Old. Old system. Yes, old system.
collection
Okay.
notes.
Pardon?
Collection notes.
Election note? The election note?
Yeah.
I cannot hear you clearly, Kelvin.
I mean, doing a collection note. Do we need to open
Oh.
collection note now?
Oh, okay. So you already opened your lecture note lah.
No, I haven't.
But you know lah what is legacy, right? It is old, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so the first challenge of software engineering is legacy system challenge. Okay. So because as you all know, technology is a it is very fast evaluate. Oh yeah, I can present. Astaghfirullahalazim. Astaga. I thought I already shared. Okay, thank you, Kelvin. Just now, also I don't even shared my screen ka when I talk about the software engineering.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so I will show this so you can see it clearly what I have talked just now. I said software engineering is the SDLC. Okay, there are 7 SDLC, phases of SDLC. So all of this SDLC will be separated and will be taught in different courses in 2 years of diploma in software engineering. So that's why the first 3 it will be taught in SRD course. The 4 phases of SDLC will be taught in various courses, and then the 5th phases in SDLC will be taught in software testing and quality. And then after that, the last 2 phases of SDLC will be taught in software maintenance courses. So this is what I just talked just now. And then now we proceed to the key challenge of software engineering, which is first is the legacy challenge. Okay, so legacy challenge. Okay, so legacy challenge. As we all know, if we compare with other traditional engineering like civil, mechanical, or electrical, software engineering is the most fastest evaluate engineering field. Okay, so meaning to say that a software engineering very sangat cepat berubah lah. If this month you have found somebody found new technology, introduce new technology, maybe next week there are another technology. Okay, so that's why the challenge of software engineering is to maintain and update the system that you develop today or baru last year in such a way that it can excessively costs are avoided and essential business services continue to be delivered. Meaning to say that even though we just develop our software to last year, maybe this year it is already can be called as a legacy system because there are new technology introduced. It's kind of every day lah or every year lah. Okay, so the challenge is when you are maintaining a software, you need to make sure that even there are new update in the future, you will not. The update will not cost a lot because it doesn't need you to buy any other maybe tools or software that to make your current software is compatible with the new technology later. Okay, so how do we make sure that it happen? How do we make sure that our system will not be a legacy system in the future? So the challenge is there. Okay, so that is the challenge of the software engineer to make sure that your system is always up to date. Okay, so in order to do that, maybe you will need to check your design. You really need to make sure that it can co-op with it can co-op with the new technology in the future. And maybe when you are a software engineer, you need to always alert with the new technology so that whatever you have built now, you can have the idea on how your current software that you are building now can be adapt with the new technology that is maybe ongoing or still in the research when you are developing your current software. So that is the challenge. How you can make your knowledge is very updated so that you can adapt the new technology without a lot of cost. Okay, so that is the first challenge, which is the legacy challenge. Okay, so the second challenge is the heterogeneity challenge. Okay, so a heterogeneity challenge. Who can guess what does it mean? Heterogeneity challenge. Heterogeneity challenge. Who can guess? Yeah, yes. Cross-platform compatibility across the platform. And then Alvin said different, yes. Different meaning different platform lah in terms of software. Different platform. Okay, so if you can see the trend of nowadays software, every software that you want to build, usually it can run for various platform. You when you are developing a web system software, meaning to say that a software that you can access through your browser. You just type www, but through your browser using your laptop. Usually, it also must be available or must can be accessed by a user through a browser in your phone. Okay, so in your phone, through the browser in your phone. Okay, so the challenge of software engineer is to make sure that all of their software that they're developing can be accessed through various platform. Like I said just now, a browser from your laptop or browser from your iPad. It also must be compatible or can be accessed through the browser of your phone, mobile phone. Okay, so some of the uh, some of the software also must be can have another version of it, which is a mobile application, which is you need to download the software and then install it in your phone. Okay, so that is also another platform. Okay, so the challenge of the software engineer is not all of the software engineer are having the skills of develop the software or the web system across various platforms, especially if the software engineer is not updated with the new technology. Okay, so for example, if the software engineer only expert in web system, but he only can develop a software that can be accessed through a browser in your desktop or laptop or computer, but developing a software or web system um, that only can be accessed through your browser in your laptop or computer or yeah, on the through laptop, computer, or through a laptop or computer lah, or PC lah. It is not the same with developing a software or web system that can be accessed through a browser using your mobile phone, because you have to take care of the size. Not all of the component of the HTML can be directly used and accessed through a mobile phone browser. Okay, so if the software engineer doesn't have that kind of skill, they didn't update their knowledge on how to develop a web system that can be accessed through a browser from your mobile phone, then it can be a disadvantage of the software engineer lah. Okay, so that is the challenge, meaning the software engineer must be updated with all of the current technology lah, so that they can develop a software that can be run across various platforms. Okay, so after that, another challenge is delivery challenge. Excuse me. Okay, so the delivery challenge. Okay, so as we all know that, our era nowadays is the technology era. So there are a lot of state of the art technology that introduced every day, and then um, there are new technique method that can make a software development fast. And then our user, they also expect all of the software company can also develop their software faster than the previous year. Meaning if a software, the same kind of software was developed for about 2 months in maybe during year 2008, like that, required to develop software. And then the same kind of software maybe can be developed within 2 weeks in 2021. So that is the expectation of our user. So the challenges of the software engineering or software engineer is to make sure that the software can be delivered in a short time, but without avoiding or compromising the system quality. Okay, so because that is the expectation of most of the current user nowadays. Okay, so they don't want to know the problem. Maybe we don't have the expertise or whatsoever. We don't have the technology, or the software company doesn't have the technology. But what they want is they want the software can be developed faster within maybe 2 years, 2 weeks. Okay. Okay. So that is the third challenge of a software engineering. Okay. So far so good. Easy kan? Can understand kan? Okay. Okay, so after that we proceed to test yourself. Okay, so company Yen Yen initiate a project to sell its product online. As a software engineer who are responsible for this project, suggest 3 software attributes that are important to this website. I am having like apa tu? I am having. I don't know if I have asked you all these questions previously. Haven't ba kan? Have you have I asked these questions previously? No?
No, I think.
I think
Okay.
haven't.
So uh, yes, because I have also another course which is also software engineering but for the DSF student. So that's why I think like macam apa ba? I forgot the name of the terms. Um, like the things that deja vu. Yes. Yes, I think that I am having a deja vu. Yeah, so yeah, so heaven lah kan. Yeah. As a software engineer who are responsible for this project, suggest 3 software attributes. So we have learned about software attribute last week. So they are like acceptability, maintainability, accessibility. If you guys remember the all ability attribute. So what do you think that Yen Yen company should have? What software attribute the company Yen Yen should have in its software, or in its website? Their website is is a so a website that selling product online. Can you all remember the software? Yeah, availability and usability. Yes. Okay, so there are only 2. What else? Anybody remember? Functional, yes. Functionality, yes. Also, yes. Okay, so availability, meaning to say that this is, for example, this is website kan. Okay, so this is a website. Yes, security also important for a website, especially for a web that is selling online because it is involved money transaction. Okay, so yes, Daniel, correct. Functional also correct. Availability and usability also correct. Availability meaning to say that because this is on a website and it is selling product online, so usually a website should be available 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. Okay, so that is the availability. Usability meaning to say that the software or the website should be usable, so it can also be it should achieve its purpose, meaning to say that it should be able to sell product online. Okay, so it is same like a functional lah. Functional meaning to say that it achieve the functions it's supposed to have. Okay, And then the security also, yes, like I said just now lah, because this is involving the money transaction. So a security attribute is really needed because we cannot make a software that can make the user or the customer lose money. So yes, okay. Thank you for your feedback. So now we proceed to the professional and ethical responsibility. Okay, but before that, allow me to drink first. Uh, I need to drink coffee even though I am not a caffeine tolerant person because our class is at the afternoon and we just had our lunch, so the risk to be sleepy is high, so that's why I have a coffee. Okay, that is just iklan na, advertisement before we go to our professional and ethical responsibility. Okay, so as a software engineer, we are engineer. We are engineer. Actually, a software engineer still not certified as a official engineer field like the traditional engineer, like the civil engineer, mechanical or electrical, because all of that traditional engineer already certified. So even in Malaysia, there are a board of engineer organization. Whoever engineer registered to the BOE, Board of Engineer, they are considered as the certified engineer. Then usually whoever engineer that has that listed in the Board of Engineer, they will get their salary will be higher than those engineer that haven't certified. But for software engineering, we are still unluckily we are still not certified. We still don't have that kind of organization that certified a software engineer because it is still like in the process, because software engineering is a new field of software of engineering field. So we are still um, in the progress of to be a certified engineer. Okay, so but in order to be a certified field of engineering, so that's why all of the engineer, either you are system engineer or software engineer, you have this professional and ethical responsibility so that the other engineering field can um they also can notice a software engineer or system engineering is also as a professional engineering field. So that is so what I will talk later is the responsibility of software engineer or system engineer so that we can be certified engineer later. So we as a S engineer, I will say S engineer lah, system engineer and software engineer is S engineer. Okay, so as a S engineer, we should have this professional and ethical responsibility. Okay, first is confidentiality. Confidentiality. Okay, so confidentiality ethics, meaning to say that as a software engineer or system engineer, we should protect confidential of our user, because being a software engineer, we are responsible to record all of the data of our user. So as a professional, as engineer, we should practice to not reveal any informations of our user to any third party. Okay, so that is the first. After that, um, uh, after that, competence. We should always update our knowledge as engineer so that we can be always be an competence as software engineer, so that any software that we will develop in the future can be delivered effectively and economically, but yet still have high quality. Okay, so that is the second professional and ethic that as engineer should have. After that, intellectual property right. Okay, intellectual property right. Okay, so intellectual property right, meaning to say that we should not use any software or property from other company. We shouldn't take or use any software or property from third party and use it as it is our own. Meaning to say that as a software engineer, you must always take any product that you use. For example, if you need to use some software, even though it is a Microsoft Office, Microsoft Office is the most common software that everybody is using. Okay, so so as a learner, I mean a student or even lecturer, we are always can use the free versions because a company like Microsoft or some company, they will make it available for us, for so we can use it as education. But if you are in the software house, if you are in a company and you use the free version or yes, you can use the free version, but you cannot use the pirated version. Okay, so if you just take Microsoft Office from Shopee, because if you aware lah, in Shopee you can get a Microsoft Office with only ringgit, with ringgit and few ringgits lah. Okay, if you use it and then kena tangkap, it is caught by Microsoft that you are using it for business purpose. You have a company but you are using that pirated version, you can get penalty. So as a software engineer, don't ever use pirated version. You can use the free version because a free version is memang meant for everybody, but don't use the pirated version even though Microsoft Office, because yeah, like I said lah. Oh, ada lagging kah? Yes, everybody? Only Elvin or all of you also didn't hear my voice clearly? Oh. Oh, okay. Farah can hear lah. Because I didn't. Easy to detect the pirate? Yes. Usually, yes. Especially when they are update lah. When they are update. So if you are using pirated version, but if you are using pirated version, but don't use lah, don't use. I cannot suggest you to use pirated version. This is recorded, ah. Nanti I kena. I can advise don't use the pirated version. Use the free version. Yeah, but if but there are also a pirated version that doesn't help you to add firewall. So you are on your own. Not all can add firewall for you. So when I was in my when I work as a programmer last time in our company pun, every software that we are using, it will has the license, and then our IT technician will install it for us. They won't ever let us use or install any software that is pirated in our laptop, because if we installed it, yang kena adalah company. Okay, so that is the third ethical and professional responsibility as a S engineer. Okay, so remember, S engineer is system engineer or software engineer. That is my own term. Don't use it to any other lecturer or outside, because it is only me and you, because it's hard for me to spell or to pronounce system and software engineering every time I need to uh, say about it. So the fourth professional and ethical responsibility is computer misuse. Okay, so don't ever misuse your computer lah. Okay, so because as a S engineer, usually we will have extra knowledge than any non S engineer outside. Kan? Okay, so we have extra knowledge than them. Sometimes, maybe some of us and some of you know how to hack people's the computer, right? Okay, so as a S engineer, don't do that, because it is violating the professional and ethical responsibility. So we have the responsibility to behave correctly or ethically, so that other citizen or other people respect our career as S engineer. So all of the S engineer responsible to menjaga, to taking care our professionals image as engineer. So these are the code of ethics that is introduced by IEEE. IEEE is a company that it's like a board of engineer, but it is mostly they are focused on computing, IEEE or SCM. So if you want to find a lot of published journal or paper, so you can go to IEEE website, and then you can download it from there lah. But I am not sure if we need if TAR-UC have free access or have subscribed for IEEE. Maybe you all can check later lah in our libraries or resources. There are online resources, the list of online resources, and then if you have access to IEEE, then very good lah, because IEEE is a certified organizations that is mostly publish a very useful information about computing. So, so based on IEEE, they said that there are one okay so there are one published article that say about code of ethic of as engineer towards public, towards client and employer, towards product, towards judgment, towards management, towards profession, towards clique, and towards self. Okay, so the example of ethic and professional as engineers should have towards public is, for example, if you are doing, if you accepted a work, or you are accepted a project to develop a software, so you must take a full responsibility for your own work. So whenever your software letter maybe didn't work, or maybe it works, or but sometimes it didn't works, or yeah, so whatever happened to your software or your product, you must take responsibility of it. So if it didn't work, you have to make sure it is work. Okay, so that is some of the responsibility of as engineer towards the public, meaning you don't angkat kaki when the software that you develop is not work lah. After that, as an software engineer, you must moderate the interests of the software engineer, the employer, and the client and the users with the public good. Okay, so meaning to say that we need to show a good example to be a professional in front of a public. Okay, so our employer, client, users, that is what it means by a public lah. Okay, so another example, you can show your professional and good ethics towards public is, if you are a software engineer and you are HOD of any team, HOD is head of department. So you approve when you are needed to approve some work. You only make sure you only approve a software that is well believed that it is safe, meets the user specification, pass some appropriate tests, and it has the quality that the user wants. Okay, so I will repeat again. As engineer, your responsibility towards public is one of the way that you can show that you have a good professional and ethic trait is by approving only software that is safe. You already check that the software is already safe. It meets the user specification. It already passed some tests, and then the quality is there before you want to release it to your client. Okay, so after that, the product. Okay, so how you can show your professional and ethics towards the product is, example is, okay, the example of the professional act that you can show towards the product is, you must, as engineer, you must ensure an appropriate method is used for any project on which they work on proposed work. Meaning, in any project that you are working on, you need to make sure that you are using the appropriate method or appropriate tools to do that job. Okay, to develop that product. After that, the management. The example of how you can show your professional and ethics, good ethics towards the management is you as an engineer, as an engineer, you need to ensure that the software engineers, if you are the management, you need to make sure that the software engineer under you are informed of the standard before you give that job to them. Okay, so but to imagine if you are the project manager and then you have a project that is requested by your client. Okay, so make sure that you already told your software engineer or all of the development team the standard of the software or the standard that the system engineer or the software engineer need to follow before they start. Okay, so the colleague, your professional code and ethic towards your colleague is maybe if you are one of the team, one of the member in a software development team, you need to encourage your colleague to adhere to all of this code of ethic. Okay, so maybe you must to remind them if you saw that some of your colleague already downloaded pirated software, then you must to remind him, don't lah, nanti our company kena oh. Okay, so please remind them lah. Okay, so you also can assist your colleague in professional development if you see that one of your colleague is very lack in some part of knowledge or some part of skill. Maybe you can either introduce him to a free online course or maybe you can introduce him to some personal coach. Okay, so help each other lah. After that, client and employer. If you have any question, just ask lah. Okay, client and employer. So some of the ethics that you can show towards your client and employer. Okay, so make sure to use the property of your client or your employer in only in a way that it is properly authorized and with the client or the employer knowledge and consents. Okay, don't ever use any property from your client or employer without them knowing it or acknowledge from them, because it is can be calculated as boleh dikira sebagai menipu lah. Okay, so don't do that. Judgment. Okay, so for the judgment, the ethics that you can show as engineer is, for example, okay, so don't never engage to any practice such as bribery, double billing, or other improper financial practice lah. Okay, so don't ever involved in some of the illegal activity lah. After that, professions is okay. So as a software engineer, as engineer, it is your responsibility to promote public knowledge of software engineering or system engineering to the public. Okay, so we can share some knowledge to all of the non-S engineer out there so that everybody has awareness of how software engineering works, so that they know that software engineering or system engineering is a professional work and it should be certified. Okay, so so your professional and ethics towards yourself is you should do or you should improve your ability to produce a very good software, a quality software. Okay, so in order to do that, you must update your knowledge every time lah. Okay, so that is your responsibility to yourself as an S engineer. You need to make yourself is very up to date as engineer. Okay, so far so good. Or are you sleeping already?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so we proceed. Okay. Okay, so we already finished our chapter 1. So as a revision, we already learned about the generic and bespoke software product. Okay, so I want to ask if anybody remember the difference between generic and bespoke product. So who remember? Who remember? Generic and bespoke product. What is the main difference between generic and bespoke software product? There are two if you remember, two main points of the differences between generic and bespoke software product. Cost and customizability. Yes, Kelvin. Okay, so Shak said bespoke more expensive than generic. Yes. Okay, so good. Shak and Shak. Both Shak. Correct. Okay, so yes, bespoke and generic. The two most difference between generic and bespoke is cost. Generic is cheaper than bespoke. And then about the customizability, a bespoke based on the client requirement or it is customized by the client. Whereas for the generic, it is customized or the requirement is determined by the software company. Okay, so after that, we have already learned about software engineering, SE, and its importance. So you all remember software engineering is very important because the software is widely used now. In this era, there are it's like that we cannot live if we don't have a software. Okay, so after that, software engineering can make sure that a software engineer deliver a reliable and trusted software, but yet still economically cheaper lah, but still in a good quality. So that is the most important thing about software engineering. After that, we have learned about the software attribute, where you have learned just now the acceptability, maintainability, functionality, usability. Okay, so after that, the key challenge of SE, we have learned the legacy challenge. We have also learned about delivery challenge. And then we also have learned about the heterogeneity challenge. Okay, so forgive me if I pronounce the heterogeneity challenge is wrongly. Okay, so after that, we also have learned about the IEEE Code of Ethics, where we have learned how we as a S engineer should act towards the public, the product, the management, the client and employer, towards yourself. Okay, so done with the chapter 1. So now we will proceed to our chapter 2, which is software process model. But before that, before that, I will call one by one all of you here to make sure that you are still here. Okay, so I will call you all one by one lah. Okay. So Ivan, where are you? Okay. Farrell.
Here.
Okay. Lim. Lim. Okay, Lim not here now. Okay, Kelvin. Okay, Shak. Okay, Russell. Okay, and Noel.
Yeah.
Okay, Daniel. Oh, disconnected Lim. Okay, Lim. Okay, so Daniel. Okay, Alvin. Okay, Xiu Ting Chin. I forgot the name, the short name for Xiu Ting Chin. Xiu Ting Chin. Okay, Xiu Ting Ting here, and Zhe Xing Wong. Wait, I have Zhe Xing Wong. Oh, Celine. Sorry, Celine. I forgot your short name. Celine. Si Wong. Wong lah. Okay. Okay, so thank you. Okay, so now before we proceed to our chapter 2, I will give you time 5 minutes. So you can go to the toilet. So we take 5 lah. We take 5. So we go back. We meet again at 3:43. 3:43. Okay? Okay. So take your coffee first, go to toilet, take your snack. So yes, here we are again. So we proceed to the chapter 2, which is software process model. So this is actually wait, some kids are coming from nowhere. Wait, sorry, I forgot to lock my door. I also terkejut tuh. Okay, so yeah, so we proceed to our chapter 2, which is software process models. So this is one of the most important topic in software engineering, because later when you become either system engineer or software engineer, you may need to determine what kind of project that is suitable to what kind of software process. Okay, so but for our first, for today, we will cover only two software process model, um, which is a waterfall model and okay, so which is a waterfall model and the prototype model. Yeah. Aish. Thank you, Farah. Because there are some disturb from outside, kan? So I forgot to present already. Okay, so yes, this our chapter is chapter 2, software process model, and in this chapter we will learn about various software process model. We will evaluate the advantage and disadvantage of each of the software process model, and then what kind of software or project that we should implement using which software process models. And then so the second lesson objective is like I said just now lah. Later we should be able to suggest which process model that are appropriate under a given situations of a software development. Okay, so we will in this today lesson, we will proceed to we will learn about two software process, which is the waterfall and prototyping. The others we will learn next week. Okay, so before we go to the process model, we need to know that there are some activity that is a basic activity to develop a software, like in the SDLC lah, because SDLC there are 7 phases kan, but that 7 phases of SDLC is simplified in here, and then after the 7 activity phases is simplified, so they become 4 basic activity. Okay, so the first basic activity is the software specification. Okay, so the software specification actually consisting of so here the process of you identify the problem. In the software specification activity also, you will determine the client requirement, and then after that you will do the analysis of the client requirement, and then after that you will design what kind of software you want to do later. So in the design process, you will design not only the UI, user interface, but you also design your database, how you will create the database, how many tables that you need to create. what kind of table, what kind of the attribute you need to include in your database table. Okay, so after that, how each of the table connected so that when you are querying or when you do any database operations, the query is not too complicated. Okay, so that is under the software specifications basic activity. Okay, so like I said, this software specification already containing your identifying of the problem, uh, requirement collection, analysis of the requirement, and design of the UI, and also the design of your database, and also the design of each of the module in your system, so that in the future when there are any amendment or new upgradation from when there are new technology or new requests from your client, you can easily change your software or you can easily amend the software without taking a lot of time and without taking a lot of cost. So in the design phase or in this software specification here in this phase, you will determine that design. So that's why you as a software engineer, you should know which design that can be amended later. So in the future you can change it or modify it easily. Okay, so after that, the second is the software development. Okay, so I said the activity to develop the software, the 7 phases just now already simplified into 4, which is the software specification, and then the second is the software development. So in this development, you will do the coding lah. Okay, you will do development. You will need to implement whatever you already specified in your software specification. How you design, how you design your UI, your database, or your whatever that you have done in the software specification is you only need to implement it in the phase of software development. After that, software validation. Software validation is after the software development finish. After that, you will need to do testing. So software validation is the process of testing. It is validated your software your software that already finished or that already implemented, either it is conforms with whatever you have wrote in your software specifications. Okay, so that is the software validation. You validate either it is already follow whatever in the software specification. After that, software evolution. Software evolution is the process where you maintain the software after the software delivered to the client side. Okay, so that is the process of software maintenance. Okay, so during that time is um, the software is already being used by the user. After that, there are some period of the time that the user will use that software. They will feedback us the real feedback from the real user, and then in that period, we will accept maybe some new requests. Maybe there are maybe they found new bugs that we never found during the software validation. Maybe they will ask for new upgrade because they maybe want to change some of the technology that they are using previously. But after that, after sometimes they want to change their technology. Okay, so for example, if previously they are having their own server, but because of the cloud computing is offering a cheaper solution compared to the having a on server, then maybe they want to change to the cloud computing lah. Okay, so that is what happening in the software evolution. Okay, so we already learned the activity, the basic activity in to develop the software. So what is the meaning? This is the basic process lah to develop the software. So these are the 4 basic activity when you want to develop a software. Okay, so what is the software process model? Okay, so now we are going to understand what is software process models. So software process model is the simplified description of software process. Okay, so all of the four process that we have just learned previously in the previous slide is simplified, and then it produced some model. Okay, so after that, it uh, it is the software process or the simplified descriptions or the software process is developed based on different perspective, meaning to say that some of the expert says that this way is a good way, a better way than a previous perspective. Okay, so this maybe there are some expert, previous expert says this way of processing or developing a software is a good practice. But after that, there are new engineer coming out, and then he said that, oh, okay, that way of producing a software, that process is no longer relevant to nowadays world. Okay, so we need a new process, or we need a new model. Okay, so it says there, that's why it says here that the software process models is having different perspective. Okay, so different software process model are coming from different perspective of different expertise. After that, software process models may include software processes that what we have learned just now, the four process, basic process. And so in a model of a software process, it including software processes, and then also including the roles of every member in the software team. After that, it also involves maybe a product, any product that is needed to develop that software. Okay, the product here meaning to say that whatever tools that you will need to develop that software. Maybe because maybe some of the model require some tools. For example, the tools here is, for example, a software, another software. For example, in the if I'm not mistaken, I have read just now some of the process model, which is called as RUP. It is a modern process. So this process model using specific tools, which is Rational Software Corporation. Okay, so that model using specific tools or product, which is ROS. uh, Rational ROS software or tools. Okay, so that is what a process model. It is simplified. Okay, so in short, it is simplified description of the four activities just now, and then it is different perspective. I mean, it containing different perspective from different experts, and then it including not only software process but also whoever involved in that process, and then the product that is involved needed to develop or to follow that process model. Okay, so okay kah about what is the software process model? Understand kah?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is what I said just now lah. The software process model is simplified description of a software which is presented from particular perspective. Particular perspective is, like I said just now, different expert says different perspective. After that, it may include the activity which are part of the software process, software product, and the roles of the people involved in the software engineering. Okay, so these are the software process model that we will learn after this. But for this session, we will only cover the first two software process model, which is prototyping and the waterfall model. Okay, so this prototyping and waterfall model is usually known as a traditional software process model, meaning the old way of developing a software. Okay, so we go to the first process, which is waterfall model. Okay, so maybe some of you already know, and then some of you already can guess just based on the name lah. Okay, so it is linear sequential model or waterfall. If you remember, if you can imagine the waterfall kan, from top to bottom, it's like water flowing down. Okay, so this is what the waterfall looks like. Okay, so these are the model. Okay, so the activity of the software engineering from the, like we have learned just now, the software specification, software development, software validation, and the software evolution is separated based on phase by phase. Okay, so if you remember, if you see here, it is like a waterfall lah, like I said. And this diagram showing that if you see the arrow never goes back or go up again. Okay, so it is all going down, meaning to say that this is this process saying that you have to finish the first phase first, baru you can go to the second phase. Okay, so it is not that flexible. Okay, it is not that flexible. Okay, so for example, your first phase, which is your software requirement. In that software requirement, you can see here that the project initiation, you need to gather the requirement from the user. After that, you will know. After you already finish and finalize all of the requirement that you get from the user, you will do the planning. You will do the estimating how many software or manpower you need to do that software, how many time, and then how you will track the progress of the development. So after that, baru you go to the modeling, which is you will do the analysis and design during this phase. After that, construction, meaning the implementation lah. You will do the code, and after that you will test. After that, the maintenance phase or the software evolution phase, if you remember just now. Okay, so which is in the deployment, you will need to do the delivery. After that, you will do the support, and then after that, you will do the feedback. The support is like you will receive every complaint from the user lah, every complaint, request, or upgrade from the user. After that, you will need to feedback lah. So if you can see here, there are no going back error. So that meaning to say that if there are any requirement changes, you will not be able to cater the changes because the process is never going back. So it is not flexible, meaning to say that it's hard. Actually, it is sometimes it's time consuming because you really need to finalize the first the first phase, baru you can go to the second phase. If not, then you cannot proceed. Okay, so that is some of the drawbacks of waterfall model. It is not flexible, and then it is a little bit time consuming. Okay, so but this is the advantage of the waterfall, which is it is systematic because it already told you, okay, after this what you should do next. Okay, so it is easy to follow. Okay, so it is easy to follow. Everybody knows, okay, after this, after we meet the client, we will go back to the office and then we will analyze their requirement. So after that, we will do the design. Okay, after that, we will implement. Okay, so it is easy to follow. Everybody knows already because it is the sequence that already predetermined. Okay, so that is the advantage. But the disadvantage, like I said just now, um, beside whatever I have said just now, it is also a blocking step. Blocking step meaning to say is uh, uh, is whenever you have any changes, I think I said that just now lah. Whenever you have any changes, you are not flexible to change it. Sedangkan, I use sedangkan. Sedangkan in the real project outside, a real project rarely follow linear flow, meaning they are seldom project that will follow that process, because in the most of the project or software, there always be a change. We cannot avoid changes during the development of a software. Okay, so using waterfall, it is because it is not flexible. So that is one of the drawbacks of this model. After that, difficult to set requirement explicitly. Okay, so when you meet a client and then the client never been in a software field, they don't even know how some of the software, they never use any of the software or similar software that can help them with current process, a business process. So when you ask them, okay, what do you want? Okay, tell me, what do you want? Okay, so you are as a software engineer, you go there and you interview them. Okay, so actually, what do you want your software looks like? Or what do you want your software can do? Okay, so if you ask most common user that never use any software or similar software with what they want to develop now, they will blank. They will blank. They will go blank because they also don't know what they want. Okay, so it is very difficult for us to get a very implicit requirement. Explicit here meaning tersirat. Implicit meaning tersurat, meaning even the client themselves, they can't really know what they want. Okay, so apalagi kita as a software engineer, as someone that not doing the client job every day. Okay, so if the client that are doing their job every day don't know what they want, okay, apalagi kita kan, someone that never involved with their work every day. Okay, so that's why difficult to set requirement explicitly. Sedangkan in a waterfall model, you really need to know your requirement before you need to go to the next phase. So that's why it is hard. This waterfall model, it's hard to be implemented. And then after that, another disadvantage is working software unavailable, meaning to say that the working software unavailable here is your software only can be seen by your client at the later stage. Because following waterfall model, you need to go through all of the process going down, and then lastly baru you go show your software to your client kan. So that's why it says here working software unavailable until the later stage. Your client didn't see their product, what they want, until the later stage. Tiba-tiba when they saw after, for example, 6 months of development, they never saw their project, their software. But later, after 6 months, you show it to them, tiba-tiba orang tidak mau. So how? Okay, so that is one of the another disadvantage of waterfall model. Okay, so based on the advantage and disadvantage that we have learned about the waterfall model just now, when do you think we can use a waterfall model? For what kind of software that we can use a waterfall approach or model? I want to ask your opinion. Okay, but for this time, I will, excuse me, I will call a name, not a name lah, maybe 2 or 3. I will call Russell. What do you think? What kind of project that is suitable for waterfall approach? And then I want to ask Celine. And wait Celine and Shak. Celine, Shak, and Russell. You 3. Specific example. Whatever you think lah. I mean, maybe a type of project. It doesn't mean the name of the project, but only the feature of that project lah. Maybe the project that should be done in a short time, macam tu. Or a project that okay, so maybe a project that is cheaper. Okay, so I already give one clue. Okay, so you can use a waterfall approach for a maybe cheap project. That is one of the suggestions lah. So when to use a waterfall approach. Only the feature of the project you tell me. What kind of project? I already told cheaper project, small business. Yeah, okay lah. Because a small business, the price is cheaper lah, the cost. Low-risk, Russell. Yes. Second type is the low-risk project. Okay, so Celine also said clear requirement. Yes. Okay, so Russell already, Celine already. Shak. What is the feature or feature of a software that can go through or that can apply waterfall approach? So this is the type of question that will be asked later in the test or in your exam. Maybe we will give some scenario that saying that, oh, okay, Yen Yen website is developing a software, that this software is have a clear requirement, and then it is also used for the time given to finish that software is about 3 years. Okay, so what do you think the software process model that is suitable to be applied in Yen Yen software? Okay, so that is kind of the questions. Okay, so yeah, Shak, do you have idea? Your friends already says Loris, clear requirement, a small business. No? No, Shak? No idea. Oh, okay lah. It's okay. So yeah, your friends answer is correct lah. Loris, yes, because um because we are showing our product at the end of the stage to the client. So we need to make sure that the risk, for example, the risk of the client don't want our system is minimal. Okay, so if you know already the user, maybe your user is your maybe your family lah or close friend of you, and then the risk of him of rejecting of your software is low, then okay lah, you can go with the waterfall approach. After that, um a clear requirement. Yes, clear requirement, because like I said just now, there are some user that really don't know what they want. Okay, so for this kind of user who don't know what they want, you cannot use the waterfall approach. Only with the user that really know and clear whatever that he wants from the software, maybe because the user already using some kind of software, but because of that software is cost a lot to him, so he prefer some similar software for him. So he asks you to develop a similar software with the software he is being using. uh, yeah, after that, so but because of he already have a similar software kan, so he already clear whatever he wants. Okay, okay, so that kind of situations or user who already know what he wants, then you can use the waterfall model. Okay, so after that, beside that, um we can use a waterfall model when we know um, that there are, I mean, the technology that we will use to develop that software is already well understood. Meaning to say that if you want to use, for example, a software which is like a rational ROS or whatever software that you want to use in order for you to develop that software, make sure that you already know well about that software and then how to use it, so that um, a risk, we want to eliminate risk, because later if you buy that software but you don't understand that software, but last later when you already bought it, and then lastly actually that software is not what you wanted. Okay, so that is will makes your the cost of the project is become higher. Okay, so uh, only use the waterfall model if you already know the technology that you are going to use in order to develop that software is you well understood. Okay, you well understood the technology that you are going to use. Okay, so and it is like another another feature of the software is there are no ambiguous requirement lah. Okay, so Slim said, clear requirement. No ambiguous requirement is the opposite of the ambiguous requirement. Okay, so and then the project is short and cost is low. Okay, so like what Kelvin said lah, the project is short. I mean the cost is low, like what Kelvin said. Okay, the project is short. Okay. Okay, so we proceed to our second process model, which is prototyping model. Okay, so the activities in the prototyping model is okay. Before we proceed, so far so good of the waterfall model. Okay. Okay. So if you see, I am now like a shining lecturer here because I am facing facing a sun here. Okay, so it's okay lah. Okay, so we proceed to the prototyping model. Okay, so the activity in the prototyping model is, the key of the prototyping model is you always communicate with your customer. Okay, so if waterfall, you only communicate with your customer at the early stage, but for the prototyping model, you will always communicate with your customer. Okay, so there are some activity in the prototyping model, which is you will, software engineer or system engineer will always listen to the customer. After that, the software engineer or the S engineer will build a mock-up prototype. Okay, so that's why it is called as a prototype, because the software engineer will develop or build a prototype. The prototype, it is no, it is maybe just interface. It what I want to say, it not necessarily to be a working software because it is only a prototype, right? Prototype meaning it is a similar, it's like a model that the user can see at the early stage, but it not a working product yet. Maybe we show them some sketch. It is also called some sketch to show that the flow of the system from what interface to what interface. They will click this button to and then it will go to the what interface. Okay, so that is mockup. So either you just show the sketch, or maybe you have some interface, a mockup interface that when you click a button, it can go to another page. Okay, so even though in the behind, it is not really working, but it can go to it just can proceed to another page to show the flow of the system. So after that, customer will test, or if you have a prototype that can be clicked, so the customer can test your prototype. Okay, so after that, okay, so if they agree, with whatever that you have shown them, baru you can proceed to the implementation. Okay, so for prototyping model, the first things you have to do is communicate with your user or your client. After that, you need to come out with a quick plan. After that, you will need to come out with a quick design. Okay, so the quick plan there, after you communicate, and then you already know what your customer want, and then you go back to the office. You go, maybe you plan with your team. You will say that, okay, for this week or tomorrow we will go to them. We will show them this sketch. Okay, or maybe you can say, okay, we can show them this software, because this software is the software that we have built previously with the similar function but different customer. So we show this software to them, and then we will get their feedback, either they want this type of software or not. Okay, so that is the plan that you make with your team member. Okay, after that, after your team member agreed with your plan, after that you go either you go design your prototype, or like I said just now, if you decided to use the existing system but only different customer, so you don't need to do the design lah. But if you need to come up with a prototyping, maybe some sketch or maybe some working clickable interface, so you need to go to the modeling lah quickly. So after that, you will do the construction of prototype. But if you are deciding to use the previous software for different client, then you don't need to do the construction prototype lah. But if you are trying to use a sketch, then you need to ask your team to do the construction of the prototype. After that, you will need to go to the deployment delivery, or you go to your client again, you show them your prototype, and then you get the feedback from your client. So from your prototype, maybe your client said, oh, I don't like the color. Okay, or maybe they have suggestions. Okay, because you have showed some example, we want this color to change to blue. Okay, we want this icon to be changed. We don't want the menu at the top. We want the menu at the tepi, at the side of the software. Okay, so or maybe if you show them a similar software from different client that you have developed previously, so maybe you show them, okay, so this is the example of the software that we have built previously. So in that software, this software also used to manage an asset. Sorry, not an asset. This software also asset management system. So our previous client, they have this function. They need to register. There are a function to register an asset. There are a function to, there are a module to inspect the asset, and there are the module to maintain the asset. So, because you are also require us to develop a asset management system for your company, so what do you think? Do you want to follow this module, or do you have any other function that you have in your mind? Okay, so that is kind of feedback and things that you will communicate with your client. So in the prototyping model. Okay, so these are the basic phases or basic flow of a prototyping model, which is you need to establish the prototype objective, meaning you need to clear, you develop that prototype is for what objective? Is it to get the function that the user wants, or just to get the feedback to see what clients want about the interface? So your prototyping plan should meet the objective of your prototype lab. If you want the user comment about the interface of the system, then your prototype must be cantik-cantik sikit lah. Okay, so that the user doesn't have a lot of feedback a lot of comment. But if your prototype objective is to see either the user understand the flow of the system, or you want to understand the user requirement of what function they want, then the interface of your system can be a second priority. But the most important thing is the flow of the system. Okay, so um, yeah, like I said just now, your objective either is it to prototype only the UI, the user interface, or you want to know the functional requirement that the user want, and then, or you want to show that to the user that your application that you are going to build later is feasible, meaning easy to use. Or maybe you want to show them, oh, okay, our system is from your complex process of business process, we can simplify the process into some simple process. Just few clicks, you already can get the process, the result as what you do in your manual way. Okay, so you need to clear about the objective of your prototype first before you come out with a prototyping plan. Okay, so you need to define the prototype first, and then after that, you can outline your definitions. After that, you develop the prototype, and then you execute the prototype. Okay, so here, first you establish your objective. After that, you come out with the plan. After that, you go to the process of define the prototype. After you know the objective, you define the prototype already. Okay, so you already know lah, meaning you said that lepas tu you can outline the definition of each of the functionality that required by the client. Okay, so after that you develop the prototype. After that, you execute the prototype, meaning either you develop the prototype, so either the prototype you develop is executable prototype or not. Okay, so after that, the process is to evaluate your prototype. After that, you can produce a evaluation report. Okay, so wait. These are actually the process of the prototyping, and this is the deliverable of each of the process. Okay, so the first process is you establish prototype objective. So the deliverable of this process is your prototyping plan, your plan how you will achieve your prototype objective. After that, after you establish the prototype objective, you will define the prototype functionality. So the product of this, the deliverable of this phase is the outline definitions of the functionality. You have already the functionality that you want. After that, you will develop the prototype. So the deliverable of this phase is your executable prototype. Either it is executable or just can be seen the sketch or whatever prototype you want to develop previously. After that, you need to evaluate your prototype. So after you evaluate your prototype, you will come out with evaluation report. Either your prototype is pass or not. If it is passed, then you can show it to your client. If not, then you need to go through the process again lah. Okay, so this we will learn next week. Okay, so now we are only until this process. Okay, so we will continue about prototyping next week. So far, do you have any questions?
No.
No.
Okay, so I already used your time. 3 minutes. Okay, so do you have any class after this?
No.
No. Okay, so it's okay lah. 3 minutes already used. So yeah, I can release you all now. Okay. So if you don't have any questions, our class is dismissed. So we will proceed next prototyping model next week. Okay, and I will upload the tutorial later, and I will inform you all through our Google Classroom and through. Do we have WhatsApp group for BSCS 160? Nila.
I think don't have.
Okay, so I don't know who I should ask. Because you are from two group, right? So can I ask Noel to create the group because you already have my number, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so please create the WhatsApp group so I can inform if I have posted any update lah. Okay, so thank you everyone for your attention. So bye.
Okay, Miss. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
miss.
bye.
Hungry Jack's Minis. Tasty little burgers that are so cute, they come in pairs. There's cheeseburger minis and Rodeo.
Something in the airway.
Introducing Hungry Jack's Minis. Tasty little burgers that are so cute, they come in pairs. There's cheeseburger minis and Rodeo minis. And right now,